Okay, let's look at our variations for the classic knee ride, then we're going to look at some new school variations. Some of them have been around a little longer, and maybe some of the Japanese organizations, because they're drawing on different sources of old school jiu-jitsu. But basically, the classic knee ride, there's two good variations here. One is I'm going to ride across his hip. So I just put my shin right across, and my foot is hooked on this side of his hip. So I can ride him this way, and this allows me to control both his upper body and his lower body. It doesn't seem as intuitively powerful, it may not be, but from a jiu-jitsu perspective, once you get more technical and you understand how he's escaping and defending, it's really important to control his hips. Like we talked about in some of the other programs, hip and head control is really what body control comes down to, because his spine is the center of his body, the two ends are the hip and the head, and I want to be able to control. Now, a more intuitive way to do this is to ride right on his solar plexus, which makes it really uncomfortable. So I'm not going to ride on him like that and put my knee down, which is a mistake. I'm just putting this knee down so we can talk. The whole idea is to transfer as much of my weight as possible, all my body weight, onto my knee, so it pushes it down in the solar plexus. There's other variations, but these are good ones that give you a technical control position where I'm more worried about him moving around, and I've got more of a street control position where I can hurt the guy at the same time. Okay? So the idea here, why is it not a good idea to put my knee on the ground? Because now half of my weight is on this leg. This is really simple stuff, but you have to drill it to make it functional. So when I put my knee here, basically this leg is about 45 degrees, and I'm trying to find his solar plexus. Am I right on the spot here?
Yep.
Okay, so again, I don't want to sit here on the guy all day because it's not much fun for him, which is the idea if you're trying to take the wind out of him. But I'm going to do it one last time so you can see this leg then posts out. It's important. Look at my foot, it's flat down. That's why I made sure I'm barefoot today so you can see my position. I don't do this, my weight will transfer and I'll slide around, and I'm 90 degrees to him. So this is a real simple idea. I want to be 90 degrees to the guy. Now, the groundwork isn't difficult, and we talked about this in the self-defense section. You can do your repetitions to get good at it. The problem with groundwork is there's no shortcut, because it's not just about doing repetitions like 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the jab. It's about repetitions that are developing a sense of balance, repetitions that are developing a sense of me being able to move around in transition, and then repetitions to be able to finish the guy. So there's no mysteries to groundwork anymore, but there's also no shortcuts. You just have to put in the time. Now the primary problem you're going to have with knee riding your partner or your opponent is your balance. It's that simple. So when you come up on the guy and you're using this one here, the main thing is start off in your position, but think about where your head is. If I start pitching this way, now at this moment my support foot has come off the ground, so if he suddenly grabbed me and started pushing me, I'm going to go for a ride. So as a rule, cut him in half and keep your head on this side of the line. Okay, where you put your head is the thing that's going to control your balance right now, as long as the rest of you is stable. Okay, so whether I'm doing it this way, you know, this foot acts as an outrigger. Some of the instructors call this leg the outrigger. All right, so if he's bumping, say this way, and I can put my leg there for a second to support myself, I can go here. All right, the difference is on the street, I have to deal with his arms in a different way. I'm not trying to control the guy and ride the guy with a long period of time like you might do in a tournament to wear him out, get him tired. We're looking to set up either strikes or submissions that are applicable to what we're doing. All right, so the first thing is, if he's not wearing a lot of material, sometimes you can grab and control the same way, but the simplest way to do this is to control the head like we talked about in fight finishers. So if I can get his head like this, I can drive his head up and my knee down. This is really, really uncomfortable for the guy. It's going to take the fight out of him, and you can use that to pump the knee in like we showed in fight finishers, but I want to review that again. So it's important to find it right here. All right, grab his head, and basically I'm going to be doing this. I don't want to do it too hard because this really isn't a lot of fun. All right, that's the first way to attack with that knee ride, is simply to spear him with your knee and pull up. Now from here, we've talked about this in the last series, boom, boom, I can lift and drop it down. Okay, this sets up my choke, the same things that we talked about last time. Okay, now I want to start moving into different positions and some other variations. So the old school we'll refer to as here, on the hip and here. Okay, now another one that isn't used that much in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but it's really, really useful, is I can turn his head and go into a double knee ride. All right, this is really used a lot, at least in the old days. The pancration guys would use this, again, to set up different submissions. You don't see it enough in in BJJ, it can be unstable with a guy who knows how to move around, because I don't have the outrigger, I'm not 9 degrees to him. But as far as basic control for the street, none of my body is grinding on the ground, and I have all my weight on the 2 control points, his hip and his head, all right? So I can do this as a cross face just for a moment to break up a problem. A lot of people might reach up and grab me here. So instead of fighting with the guy, sometimes just cross face him like this, and it's not much fun. He wants to let go here. There's pressure, I can lock, and then I can go back to the knee ride. All right, so that's something that you don't see a lot of in training, and for good reason. It's really tough on the guy's head, and you don't want to do this to your friends all the time. But in the street, wrestling control situation, it's really, really a good thing to do. Okay, so sometimes to be polite, I'll use my hand first, but there's another version I'll show you where you can ride on his throat. But let's look at this basic one. It's real simple. Turn his head as much as you can, and then put your shin across his jaw like this, or my knee. This is really, really uncomfortable. And if I drive his head to the ground, it's going to take a lot of the fight out of it. Now, it may look like the perfect ultimate position. Just remember, you're quite unstable in this position. If he's really bucking and kicking, don't let your head drift too far this way, like we talked about. If you're having problems here and you feel you're unstable, just pull back out and go back to your 90-degree relationship, okay? So for this one, I like to have the knee on the hip because that keeps his hips down. And then again, you can turn his head as a strike, or you can just cross face him and ride right here. I'm keeping most of my weight off here, but it's really tough on the guy's head, so I want to sit here for an hour and talk about it. That's one of the problems, one of the drawbacks of this position is not much fun to train. But if you put a helmet on, a sparring helmet, it takes a little pressure off the jaw, because you're hurting his neck and his jaw a little bit here. But the control is good. Get him to quit fighting. He's not going to be thinking about grabbing, pushing on you with his arms. Once his body's turned that way, he's far less of a threat to you.